Okay, whether you know it or not, World War III is on its way. Okay, the dice has already been cast. We've already got the ball rolling when it comes to this conflict. A lot of people are going to say, oh, it's going to be a regional war. It's going to be a war between Iran, Israel, Syria, Saudi Arabia, US. It's not going to engulf the entire world. But what happens when a world power like the US is bogged down in a trillion, a tens of $1 trillion conflict in the Middle East? China will see that. China will say, okay, the US is busy in the Middle East, so I'm going to take Taiwan. And they take Taiwan. Then next thing you know, Japan is looking at China. They're like, we gotta defend ourselves. Japan attacks or calls for help from the US. Japan says, we need your help. Then next thing you know, America is in Asia. And, you know, we got our border open. So that means any enemy nation could just send hordes and hordes and hordes of agents through our border. And, if we don't close it, guess what? They can stage attacks here. They can stage literal massacres because America's that easy to get into. And, this will cause destabilization for decades. Decades. You cannot have a functioning world that is built on lies, that is built on a genocide that is going on in Israel. People are saying, "Oh man, just ignore Gaza. Just ignore Gaza. Well, what about Israel? Well, why is Israel occupying a land that it does not own? It has not lived in for thousands of years just because a British oligarch signed a piece of paper saying, oh, yeah, the Jews all over the world can live here. Well, what about the Palestinians? They've been living there for, again, since all of recorded history. Look it up. During during the ancient Rome times, they were called the Philistines. That sounds a lot like Palestine. Okay, so the people that are saying these are just Arab, what do you say, migrants that just moved settled in there. They're just lying. It's a lie. It's all a lie. Okay, there's no logical reason for Israel. The entire concept of Israel is just based on a lie. It's all a lie. Okay, and these people had the people of Israel has have just gotten emboldened by this U.S. support, so they are now going full force into this genocide. They have killed well over 20,000 people. They say, oh, they only killed 20,000. That's not that much. That's not a genocide. No, the actual figure will be way more months down the line. How long did the Holocaust last? Yeah, during the first few months, you only had a few thousand people die. But during the end of the war, it was millions. So you have millions and millions of people displaced in Gaza, and they are starving. They don't have a house, they don't have food, they don't have any sort of medical treatment. Israel destroyed all of their hospitals. That doesn't sound like a genocide to you? What world are you living in if you are actually going to go to war for Israel? If you are actually supporting Israel? And I support the Houthis because they see what sort of an injustice this is. They say, okay, well, since Israel's using their power by manipulating the United States into doing whatever they want, into supporting whatever they want. Well, we're going to use our power with the Red Sea and with the Strait, and we're going to sink every single Israeli ship that supports this atrocity. So just keep that in mind when you hear this news. They don't give you the context. They don't tell you any of this. They just say Houthi rebels viciously attacked these innocent Israeli ships that are supporting that they leave out are supporting genocide, of course, but they just leave all that out because they want this to happen. The military industrial complex wants this to happen. The banks want this to happen so they can loan out money for people to kill each other. That's what they want. They want this. This is all part of the plan. So let's watch this video.
Also turning his attention to another issue in the Middle East. Today in Bahrain, Austin announced a new multi-nation initiative to deal with the Houthi rebels. That's the Iranian-backed militia that's been firing missiles at cargo ships in the Red Sea. That includes 2 more attacks just yesterday. To combat those rebels, the U.S. is partnering with 9 other nations to patrol the waterway.
Regarding the Houthis,
It's none of our business. It's none of our business. Okay, we've been playing World Police for the last 70 years, literally 70 years. And where has that gotten us? Has that brought any sort of dignity or prosperity to the American people? No. We've gotten worse. Our country has become a laughing stock. We literally lost the Afghanistan war, the most easy war on paper you could possibly imagine. Literally fighting people in goat herders. Okay, you're losing a war that took 20 years for you to win on theory, and then you lose overnight. So this is just insane. These people are sellouts.
these attacks are reckless, dangerous, and they violate international law. And so we're taking action to build an international coalition to address this threat. And I would remind you that this is not just a U.S. issue. This is an international problem, and it deserves an international response.
International correspondent Trent Murray now has more from Tel Aviv.
Well, this is a major. Leading up to this decision, there has been a number of attacks on civilian shipping and cargo vessels. Some of the world's biggest cargo lines saying they are now suspending traffic in the region. That has a major economic spillover effect. The Red Sea sees around 12% of global shipping transit through it each year, and for every day of disruption, millions of dollars are lost in global trade and commerce. For that reason, we know the US Navy is already moving assets to the region, including the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower Carrier Strike Group, to be able.
So we got out of the war in Afghanistan. We said, okay, we're going to stay out of the Middle East. Well, we left hundreds of military bases there. We have our fleets there. We have drone bases there. We have all this infrastructure there. We left all of our equipment in Afghanistan. It doesn't sound like we're staying out of the Middle East. It sounds like we're trying to stage some sort of conflict, some sort of provocation from these countries in order to go in full force. During the Afghanistan war, we didn't really have a good reason to be there. But if we let Iran attack these bases, if we let Iraq attack these bases, if we let the Houthi rebels attack these bases, we pretty much would get enough sympathy from the world, or what's the word? Yeah, sympathy. Sympathy from the world to go in full force. If we don't go in full force, we cannot win the war. Okay, that's how wars work. If you don't go in full force, you cannot win. But at the same time, if you go in full force, you start to make people angry. You start to make people hate you. People see the humanitarian issue in that. Like with Israel, they're like, we're just gonna bomb level Gaza, and now the world hates them. Now the world despises them. Okay, all this footage coming out. Guess who's watching that? The world. The world. Okay? They think they could just, oh, we have US sport, we can do whatever we want. No. People are also starting to hate the US because they are supporting this. Okay, we need to cut off all aid to Israel because Israel is dragging us into all of these wars. Okay? It's for their benefit. Okay, for their benefit. Do we benefit from these wars? No. Israel benefits from these wars because once America levels a surrounding country, guess what? That makes Israel more secure. Does it make us more secure? Does it make our economy better? No. It's our money that we're spending to protect Israel. Billions and billions and billions of dollars in aid every year, and they still can't protect themselves. They need to call on America every 10 seconds in order to defend them. Okay, America, this doesn't sound like a sovereign nation to me. Neither America or Israel sound like sovereign nations. They sound completely dependent on each other. They sound like fellow states. Okay, they sound like they're the same freaking country. Okay, it doesn't sound like Israel is independent. It doesn't sound like America is independent. It sounds like both are being manipulated and controlled by the other. So this whole situation will end up in complete disaster if allowed to go on. If there's not any rational, we've allowed a bunch of psychopaths to be at the top of government for so long, and now it's ending up in disaster because of it. Okay, you cannot allow sociopaths to be in government. Okay, that's rule number one. But we've just allowed it. No backlash. The people don't even understand why this is happening. They don't. They just say, oh, Houthi rebels. Oh, wow, we gotta stop. New enemy. Okay, new enemy. Okay, first it was the Taliban. There was all this other stuff. And it was the Viet Cong. All these enemies throughout the years, but no victories. We've never won a war since World War II. And some people say we didn't even win that war. We just played a part in it. Oh, but we won the war against Japan. Japan is a small island. Okay, that shouldn't be hard to beat.
Able to position themselves to protect those shipping lines as they try to transit what is an increasingly dangerous area. It is the Yemen-based Houthi rebels that continue to attack those ships. They say they are doing it in solidarity with Palestinians, but Israel says they form part of an axis of evil funded by Iran. That axis also...
Oh my God. Axis of evil. I'm done, man. The media is useless. Useless. Axis of evil? Are you serious? Didn't we already use this terminology before the Iraq war? When we said Saddam Hussein was the axis of evil, that we took out his name? Hassan Hussein, or whatever his name is. I forgot his name. But yeah, we took him out. And then what happened? More terrorism. More terrorism. Okay, matter of fact, the cities in Iraq became so lawless, people from all over the Middle East came to Iraq in order to start their own terror groups. Once you destabilize a country with war, specifically endless war, then this is what happens. You get a bunch of different rebel groups, a bunch of different factions, all hating the people that are occupying them or started the war to begin with, because people don't like chaos. People don't like chaos. When they see that you started all this chaos, guess what they're going to see you as? The enemy. Okay, the people in the Middle East are seeing Israel, the USA as the chaos starters. Everything was fine in the Middle East before Israel, before the USA meddling in its affairs, trying to tell them what they can and cannot do in their own land. This is the if you're gonna fight this war, you're stupid, man. If you even support this war, you're stupid. Our tax money is funding everything except the American people. When you say, oh man, why are these cities just filled with homeless people? Why are these cities not paying people enough? Why is the minimum wage still like $7? And oh man, we gotta bomb people on the other side of the world, man. That's more important. I think okay.
So including Hamas and Hezbollah in Lebanon. We know Secretary Austin making this announcement overnight after a visit here to Israel, a visit in which he said the United States will continue to support Israel's security and that America's support is unwavering. But he also said he had asked Israel to move away from its high-tempo operations that are seeing...
That's like shaking hands with the devil. Okay, this is the same guy who said we're fighting human animals before bomb leveling. It's not even a bomb campaign at this point. It's more like a leveling campaign. They have leveled an entire city. An entire city. Okay, there's no more standing buildings in North Gaza. There's nothing, and they're doing the same thing to the south. Said, oh, go to the south and say so. Bomb that too. Okay, so you're shaking hand. This guy has blood on his hands. This guy needs to be held accountable too. Just as much as this guy. He's shaking hands. He's funding the devil. He's shaking hands with the devil. This guy is a piece of garbage.
Many civilians killed, and to try and provide some more information around when it will phase into a more surgical operation which spares the lives of civilians. But this decision for America to enter the Red Sea will very much come as Washington hopes it can try and secure...
Please, please, please don't do anything. Please say, okay, Israel, we're not going to defend you unless you stop this genocide. Just say that. That's all they have to say, but they don't do it because AIPAC, they're afraid of AIPAC. They're afraid of all of these little groups that say, "Oh, you're evil for not letting Israel commit this genocide." It's crazy. It's utterly insane how misguided the people have become, how sheepish our country has become. We don't hold our leaders accountable anymore. When was the last time we held our leaders accountable was in the 60s during the Vietnam War protests. But even that was kind of overboard because they literally started throwing stuff at the people who were drafted into the war, which I thought was too much because at the end of the day, they're still fellow countrymen that fought. So, but yeah, this is insane. Our leaders have gone rogue. They no longer represent the leaders of the people. In any other country, this would be called a dictatorship. In any other country, this would be called an empire. But because we've marketed ourselves and fooled the world into thinking we are a democracy, nothing will happen.